Sir, my mommy disappeared after a blind date. One single dad braved the snow to find her. Before we continue, please tell us where in the world you are tuning in from. We love seeing how far our stories travel. The snow had been falling for over 3 hours by the time Colton Reeves pulled into the pharmacy parking lot. Thick, wet flakes clung to his windshield, blurring the glow of the streetlights into little halos that danced across the glass. The kind of cold that settled into your bones had taken over the entire town. The kind that made you think twice about leaving your truck, even for 5 minutes. Colton sat there, his truck heater humming faintly, watching the snow swirl in hypnotic circles, in a construction jacket, dusted with dried cement from the job site, smelled faintly of sawdust and wood polish. Because when you're a single dad working overtime to make Christmas happen, you don't always have time to change before picking up cold medicine for your 6-year-old, who has been coughing all week. Willis sat in the passenger seat, bundled tightly in her purple coat with a fake fur hood, clutching her little stuffed elephant that she'd named Peanut for reasons only she knew. And she looked up at him with those big brown eyes that were exactly like her mother's. "Daddy, can I get the grape medicine instead of the cherry kind? The cherry one tastes like sad strawberries." Colton had to bite back a laugh. Sad strawberries. That was the most Willis thing she had ever said. "Of course, sweetie. Grape only. Cross my heart." Hand in hand, they walked into the pharmacy, the warm air hitting them like a wall after the biting cold outside. Christmas music played softly over the speakers while a tired-looking clerk rang up the last few customers of the night. Colton grabbed the medicine and a box of tissues, because you could never have too many during cold season, and Willis sat on the little bench by the front window, swinging her legs and humming along to Jingle Bells while she waited. For a moment, everything felt normal, safe, exactly like it should. But then, stepping back into the snow, that feeling shattered. Willis stopped suddenly, pointing toward the vending machines at the edge of the parking lot. "Daddy, why is that little girl all alone out here?" Colton followed her gaze, and his stomach dropped. Sitting on the cold concrete next to the humming Coke machine was a child, maybe 5 years old, wearing a thin pink coat that wasn't nearly warm enough for the weather. Her mismatched mittens and boots were dusted with snow, and she had been crying, quietly, steadily, as if she had run out of energy. Her arms were wrapped around a small backpack, like it was keeping her tethered to the earth. Colton's protective instincts kicked in so fast, so sharply, that it almost knocked the breath out of him. This was wrong. Everything about this was wrong. No child should be outside alone in a snowstorm that cut through every layer of clothing. He walked over slowly and crouched to her level, keeping his movements gentle and his voice calm. "Hey there, sweetheart. Are you okay? Where are your grown-ups?" The little girl looked up at him, her eyes red and rimmed, blotchy from crying. She glanced at Colton, and then at Willis, as if weighing whether these strangers were safe. Then her bottom lip trembled, and in a voice so small it barely carried over the wind, she whispered, "Sir, my mommy disappeared after a blind date." The word struck Colton like ice. Disappeared. No child should have to use that word about their parent. Will immediately sat down on the concrete, next to her, without being asked, and held out Peanut. "You can hold him if you want. He makes me feel better when I'm scared." The little girl took the stuffed animal, clutching it to her chest with trembling hands. Colton stayed crouched nearby, trying to process what he had just heard. "What's your name, sweetheart?" "June," she whispered so softly he almost didn't hear it over the wind. "Okay, June, I'm Colton, and this is my daughter, Willa. We're going to help you. But I need you to tell me what happened. Can you do that?" June nodded and began talking, fragmented and halting, like frightened children do. Her words spilled out between shivers. "Mommy had a date. At the diner down the street, the one with the blue sign. She said I could stay inside with my coloring book for just 10 minutes. Then she went outside. She didn't come back. The diner closed because of the snow. I got scared. I went to look for her, but couldn't find her." Colton felt a cold, sharp twist in his gut. He remembered the helplessness of losing his wife 4 years ago to cancer. To see a little girl go through even a fraction of that pain made his chest ache. "Did your mommy say anything else? Anyone she was meeting?" June shook her head. "Just a blind date. I told her she looked pretty She smiled, then left, and now she's gone. Willis squeezed June's hand with the confidence only a 6-year-old could muster. My daddy always helps people. He built a whole house once and fixes things that are broken. He can help find your mommy, too. Colton looked at his daughter, then at June, who was staring at him with desperate hope. There was no way he could leave her out in the cold. Not tonight. Come on, let's get you warmed up first, and then we're going to find your mom. I promise. They went back into the pharmacy. The clerk's eyes widened at the sight of June. She quickly grabbed an emergency blanket and wrapped it around the little girl. Colton explained the situation quietly, and the clerk offered to call the police, but warned it might take a while. Half the force was dealing with storm-related accidents. Colton knelt again beside June, steady and calm, the same voice he used to comfort Willa during nightmares. June, I know you're scared, but you're not alone anymore. We're going to help you find your mom, and we won't stop until we do. June nodded and, holding their hands, the three of them stepped back into the snow together. The pharmacy lights glowed warmly behind them as Colton adjusted June's blanket and scanned the snowy streets with the determination he brought to every project, every promise he had ever made. The snow thickened, blurring streetlights and muffling the sounds of the quiet town. Somewhere out there, a mother was missing and a little girl needed her back. Colton tightened his grip on Willa's hand on his left and June's on his right, and he thought about how life sometimes placed you exactly where you needed to be, even if you didn't understand why. They started walking toward the diner with the blue sign, toward answers, toward whatever came next. Every step through the snow-laden streets felt heavy, but Colton's resolve only grew. The wind howled as Colton, Willis, and little June made their way through the thickening snow toward the diner with the blue sign. The storm had swallowed most of the town, turning familiar streets into ghostly outlines beneath blankets of white. Each step crunched sharply, and Colton kept the girls close, glancing around constantly, alert for any movement, any clue. The diner sat at the end of the block, its once bright neon sign flickering weakly under the weight of the snow that had piled on top of it. The windows were dark, the doors locked, chairs stacked up inside, as if the place hadn't just served hot meals an hour ago. Colton lifted June's hood gently. Sweetheart, do you remember which door your mommy went out through? June pointed toward the back of the building, her eyes clouding with worry again. That one, she said she'd just be a minute. She promised. Colton nodded. Okay, we're going to take a look. He guided them carefully along the side of the diner, where the snow had drifted higher, the wind funneling between buildings. Willis held June's hand the entire time, squeezing it proudly, as if she'd been preparing for this mission her whole life. When they reached the back, Colton felt his heart jolt. Footprints, small ones, June's, and another set, deeper, larger. A man's. They led away from the back door and around the corner, toward the alley. But halfway through the trail, everything disappeared under a fresh layer of snowfall. Daddy, Willis whispered. Colton exhaled, slow and steady. Even he felt the chill of fear crawling into his chest, but he couldn't show it. Not now. It's all right. We'll keep looking. He crouched down to June's height again. June, did your mommy say anything about her date before she met him? Maybe a name? A description? Anything at all? June wiped her nose with her mitten. She said his name was Tom? Or Tim? She wasn't sure, 'cause they only talked online. He said he wanted to meet somewhere public, 'cause of the snow. She picked the diner. Colton swallowed. Online blind dates could go either way. But something about this atmosphere, this storm, this missing mother, it made the worst possibilities flash through his mind. But then, a sound cut through the wind. A muffled cry. Faint, weak, coming from deeper in the alley. Colton immediately stood. Stay behind me. Don't move unless I say so. He stepped forward, boots sinking deep, breath forming clouds as he listened again. The second cry was louder, pained, scared, unmistakably from a woman. Help! Somebody, please. June gasped. Mommy. Before Colton could stop her, June bolted forward, running into the alley. Colton chased her instantly, scooping her into his arms just as he saw her mother, a woman in her early 30s, slumped beside a dumpster, snow covering her hair and shoulders. Her coat was torn at the sleeve, glasses crooked, cheeks scratched as if she'd fallen. She looked dazed, exhausted, one boot missing. And yet, the moment she saw her daughter in Colton's arms, her entire face broke. "June! Baby! Oh, thank God!" Colton rushed forward and lowered June into her mother's trembling arms. The woman cried, clutching her daughter tightly, rocking her as if she needed to confirm she was real. "Mommy, I looked everywhere for you. You didn't come back." Her mother kissed her forehead over and over, tears freezing on her cheeks. "I'm so sorry, sweetheart. I didn't mean to scare you. I slipped on the ice when I went outside to check if my date had arrived. I hit my head. I must have fainted." She reached for her temple, where a faint bruise had formed. "I tried calling for help, but nobody could hear me over the wind. I thought I wouldn't." Her voice broke. Colton knelt beside her. "You're safe now. You're both safe. We've got you." The woman's eyes flicked up to him, filled with raw gratitude. "I don't know who you are, but thank you. Thank you for finding my daughter. Thank you for not leaving her alone." Colton shook his head softly. "No child should be out in this weather. I'm just glad we found you in time." Willis peeked shyly from behind her father's leg. We followed the footprints, like detectives. That made June's mother laugh, even through her pain. Well, thank goodness for brave detectives. Colton assessed her quickly. "Can you stand? Or should I call an ambulance?" She tested her balance, wincing. "I think I can. I'm just dizzy." Colton extended a hand. "Then lean on me. Let's get you somewhere warm." He supported her as they walked back toward the pharmacy, June clinging to her mother's coat, Willis guiding her from the other side as if she personally took responsibility for her recovery. Inside, the clerk rushed to help, bringing blankets, hot packs, and water. June's mother sat carefully on a chair, still keeping one arm around her daughter. "Ma'am, should we call someone for you? Family? Friends?" Colton asked. She shook her head. "June's father isn't in the picture. My parents live 3 states away. It's just the 2 of us." Colton nodded, understanding more than she knew. "Then let me give you a ride home. It's too cold to walk, and your ankle looks swollen." She hesitated, only for a second, then she smiled warmly. I'd really appreciate that." On the drive home, the girls sat in the back seat together, sharing peanut and trading stories like they'd known each other for years instead of an hour. June's mother, her name was Mira, sat beside Colton, still shivering lightly but more alert as warmth returned to her. "You really didn't have to go through all this trouble, Colton. Most people would have walked past." Colton kept his eyes on the snowy road. "Yeah, well, I lost my wife a few years ago. I know what it feels like for a kid to be scared and for a parent to not come back. I wasn't going to let that happen to someone else." Mira looked at him, softer now. "I'm sorry." He nodded. "It's okay. Made me stronger. Made me a better dad." When they reached her apartment, Colton carried her up the stairs despite her protests, setting her gently on the couch. June brought her a blanket. Willis handed her a juice box. "You two saved us tonight," Mira said quietly. Colton smiled. "We just happened to be at the right place at the right time." But Willis shook her head proudly. "No, Daddy always helps people. He's like a hero who doesn't know he's a hero." Colton laughed, embarrassed. "All right, that's enough, kiddo." Before he could leave, Mira reached out and touched his sleeve. "Colton, you're welcome to stop by again, even after the storm passes." Her voice was shy but hopeful. "Maybe we could thank you properly with dinner." Colton met her eyes, warmth blooming in his chest. "I'd like that." The girls squealed at the idea of another playdate, already making plans. Outside, the snow finally began to lighten, the storm softening into gentle flakes. Colton watched the glow from Myra's apartment window as he walked back to his truck, Willis bouncing happily beside him. Sometimes life brought people together in the most unexpected storms. And sometimes those storms cleared the way for something new. Before we end this story, tell us, where in the world are you listening from tonight? We love hearing your stories too. And if you found hope, warmth, or a little light in this tale, please share, and subscribe for more heart-touching stories. The end.